can't think of a clever intro for this one. The Planet of Lana. This was a game I streamed on the Twitch channel. And yeah, this was pretty good. This reminded me of a few games. This is, I would call a sort of a deliberately paced platformer. The games that it reminded me of were actually initially reminded me of some older kind of games like Out of This World or Flashback. Or honestly, like the original Prince of Persia, almost that sort of quote-unquote realistic platformers from back in the day. I think a more recent comparison would be Limbo, at least mechanically. Tone and atmosphere-wise, very different game from Limbo. But in terms of the control and the fact that like you don't have one of those massive Mario-style jumps, your character has to be able to grab onto stuff, takes them a minute to pull themselves up. A fall that is too far down will kill you. Killing you and dying will set you back at the start of the particular section that you're in. There is mostly puzzling platform elements to this, mechanically. Story-wise, this is set on a planet, and you play Lana. And you are in your village, and you're out with your sister, and some big machines show up and kidnap everybody. And so you go out to try and find them and eventually get them back. And along the way, you pick up your little helper, Mui, and the character only speaks in a kind of just some, it's a limited vocabulary because mostly you're giving instructions to Mui, stay, come, press that button that you're near because you can command him around a little bit. So I guess you can throw in a little bit of the Oddworld games, the early ones, in there with this as well. And it's really nice. First of all, it's a very pretty game. It does a good job of lighting and framing in the setting. And also actually a bit like Limbo, I will say it's a game that's prettier at its front end when it's in its more organic environments. Later on, as it gets more technology-based, as you find these things that took your village and your people, the settings aren't quite as interesting. But by then, I'm already invested in the setting and the story and everything else. I didn't uncover the whole story because there are like some, I want to say secret. There were some things that I didn't pay attention to that if I'd interacted with all of them, I think I would have gotten more out of the story, like in terms of background. The immediate story, village captured, rescue village, got it, no problem. But like there's probably more backstory than I'm probably fully aware of, but to me, it didn't really matter. I've said before, I don't care about lore very much. I like narrative more than I like lore. Lore. I can talk. Sure I can. But playing the game and having that very deliberate game feel and like needing a minute of the character grabbing something, to pull it and avoiding predators and these machines that are hunting you. It's just really well paced. And for the most part, the challenge is pretty well balanced as well. There were only a couple of times that I had to look the solution to certain areas up. And that only happened a few times. And even then, when I got the solution, I think it was only once that I did what I consider to be the thing to avoid with these games, which is, well, how was I supposed to know that? I think that only happened maybe once. The other times I was like, oh, okay, maybe I could have figured that out if I'd spent more time at it, but I was getting frustrated and I was on stream. I'm like, I'm just going to look this up. I have no issues looking up walkthroughs, even on stream. I don't care. But for the most part, it's pretty well paced as you learn more things that you can do with the mechanics you have. As you learn that Mui can interact with certain things and the way that happens, the various mechanical things and what they do that you encounter in different rooms and how they might interact together And it does a pretty steady build of not making you just do the same thing you already did without at least throwing you a slight curveball. So it doesn't feel overly repetitious, even as it builds on the same mechanics from area to area and section to section. So it's not a particularly long game. It's as long as it should be for the kind of game that it is. And I thought the music was great. I thought the visuals were very nice. I found the characters endearing. I love Mui. He is great. But also, there was enough personality in the characters just from how they vocalized. Because there isn't a lot to the animation. You don't get too much out of the physical personality of like your character or your sister or whatnot. But you do get quite a bit out of the vocalizations. You actually get a lot of personality out of that, which I think is pretty impressive. And it isn't a game that's like all that deep. There isn't that much for me to say about it, but I definitely enjoyed my time with it. I thought it was worth what I paid for it. And because I did pay for it. This wasn't free. But this is going to end up being a short video because it is, at least to describe it, a pretty simple game. It's got a simple story, and especially if you've played any of the other games I've compared it to, it's got a simple approach that's pretty easy to understand. But I found it rewarding, and folks on stream seem to like it too. So, Planet of Lana, you played this one? What did you think about it? What were the numerous games it reminded you of? I rattled off a ton. So, whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills, enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, subscribe. They all help me out. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. And now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Zubin Lutfula, Goddess Elida, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Oliver B., Melinda Pedersen, Tarak, the thing that goes doink in the anime, Gene Foray, Movie Turtle, Ulrich Bogdan, Loki Eris, Melinda Walters, Auntie Kate 808, Becky Sparks, Frenobulax the Poodle, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperel, Dave Hall, Quite Bearish, Rosalind Bennett, Adam R. D.L. Taylor, Palba Rabajoggle, Mira G, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. If you're wondering about this little guy, this is Nymph. He's new. Don't worry, the other two are fine. He's just not fully socialized with them yet. You'll see them all together soon. Won't they? I say what?